In this video, I'm going to show you the beginning of using Inventor 2020 Professional. Use 2020 Professional if you would like to have your files on your home computer that you can actually get a free student membership to. That's through Autodesk Education. And then also bring them to school. The really important part is that you are prepared to work at school. Hopefully most, if not all of the CAD work that we do is done at school, actually. And so if you're not able to download it and install it onto your home computer, not a big deal at all. We're going to actually use Inventor here at school for the most part. Anyway. We have our first screen right here. This is our home screen, and we can always get back to it by hitting this little home key if we want to. Right here we have kind of our default files. If we create a part here, it's going to automatically create an inches part. Often what I suggest is hitting the new button here, and it gives us a few more options, which I'll show. We have tabs up here. My suggestion is to not switch tabs unless you have a reason for doing so. You're new to using this, and so chances are you don't know exactly where those tools are or anything, and so a good thing to do is avoid switching those tabs unless you know exactly what tool you're looking for and where it is exactly. From here, I'm going to hit new because this is the habit I would like you to get into, and it will take a while. It always kind of takes just a little bit to get our window right here that shows up. I will make this folder available to you. Otherwise, you can also, if you would like, on the school computers, this should be available already. But we have our Project Lead the Way templates, and yes, it is a little out of time, but we're going to use this 2019 drawing file in our Project Lead the Way templates. I've minimized everything. These are all good things to use, either inches or millimeters. We're going to start with inches and maybe for a few parts switch to millimeters. But this drawing file is going to be true for all of them, and that's for assemblies and presentations. So we're going to start with a part. That's where Inventor starts, and then from there we'll move on. So I'm going to start with the standard inches part. And looking at this screen, we have something we call the browser right here. This is important information. This actually shows the process of going through and making this part. This happens to be the third part that I created. I will, later on when I hit save the first time, be able to have this have a name that is logical. There might be other files you have open that might show up down here. Frequently, at this stage of the game, we work with just the one file at a time. Up here, we call this the ribbon, and there's a whole bunch of tools on this ribbon. And then above that, those are those tabs. And again, unless you have a very specific reason to switch from, say, the 3D model tab to the sketch tab, you don't need to. The computer will actually do much of that for you. Okay? And then we have the graphics window right here, and that's the main workspace. So we'll actually have most of the clicking be in there, and then every once in a while I'll show a keyboard shortcut. I'll tell you about that. You can use the keyboard shortcut or you can use the tool that's up here on this ribbon. And then each one's kind of in a panel. So each one of these types of tools is in its own kind of section. They're all kind of related. So this one right here, create, is something that takes a sketch and then makes it three-dimensional in some way. And there's various ways to do that. We'll get into it, but this is kind of the introduction to using Inventor. Starting on with our first part, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click and hit Start 2D Sketch, and all of these planes show up for us, and whenever we create a sketch, we have to select a flat surface in space. That could be a face on one of our parts, but right now we don't have any parts, so we have to actually select one of these planes. I'm going to select this XY plane, and it does something for me. First, it switches to my Sketch tab, so I didn't even have to do that. It automatically did that for me. And then it starts looking at this two-dimensionally. And so if I click on my view cube and rotate it, I can see that, okay, I'm looking at it at an angle. I can also just click on that and get to that front view as well. Home gets me to that kind of isometric view and all that. That's going to require a little bit of practice, but you'll get used to it as you're going. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create this part that's one of the 11 shapes, and it's one that we use so very often. And so I'm actually going to start with the line tool. I'll show you there's a couple different ways to think about drawing all these things. And so I'm going to start with the line tool, and I'm thinking about this part. What is the shape as seen from kind of the front view, the more interesting view? And all I'm going to do is very quickly, not even paying attention to the dimensions, I'm going to try to draw it. And so I'm clicking and dragging, and then I'm going to make sure that I select all of those. These axis lines don't actually define any part of the shape, so I may have to make sure to draw this line here. You can see little icons that start showing up. They may or may not show up for you. I believe one of these options right here, let's see, is show constraints. I can actually hide that if I want, or I can show it, your choice, just with that button. Okay. So I've made the general shape. It's kind of this L shape, and what I'm going to want to do is constrain this, and I want to make sure it's the right size, shape, and location of anything that's here. So I'm going to first hit my dimension tool, and this is the first way I can dimension, and that's just clicking on a line, moving my mouse over, and clicking again. Now it's going to automatically come up with a dimension here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in the height, and I know this one, looking at my drawing, is 1.25, because it's 5 squares tall. 5 times 0.25 is 1.25. And so there it is. And it does get sometimes a little weird, so I'm going to just click and drag and bring that up. So I hit escape to get out of all my tools, click, drag that up. I've got another thing. I've got this line right here, and what I would like is for that to be vertical. So I'm going to click on this vertical constraint, and I had something selected that couldn't go vertical, so there we go. But now I'm going to mouse over it, and I see this line right here. That's what I want it to be, so I click, there we go, vertical. No big deal. Then I can just keep going around. I know this is 0.5, and I know this from here to here. You notice I can actually click between two different parts, and I can type in that dimension as well. Can't forget the overall, which is 1.25 as well, I believe. No, actually it's 1.5. So there we go. And so we've got this part right here almost all ready, but one thing you'll notice with the sketch is all my lines went from purple to black, and that means that these are fully constrained. There is no way to move these now because that would change the dimensions that I've already given. Okay. So there we go. It looks like my screen's going to freak out a little bit. But that is how we start the sketch. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to make that two-dimensional. But dimensioning your sketches, incredibly important first step.